Welcome to The Table, a podcast where leaders pull up a chair and tell the real story, how they got there and how they stayed there. I'm your host, Jeanette Hernandez. So pull up a seat because this is The Table. Hi, Steve. Thank you so much for joining today on The Table. I'm really excited about the conversation and more importantly, about the type of leader you are.
Well, thank you, Jeanette, for asking me to join you today. This
No
is a lot of
problem.
fun.
Yeah, and I've known you for many years now, but it's kind of fun to just talk about things outside of the work environment because I know your leadership extends far outside of just your career. It's kind of your DNA in life. So, how do you think you're on? You are not even on the back nine. You are on the 18th hole, which I'm very jealous of.
The 18th hole. Oh, I feel so complete.
So how do you feel kind of at this point in your career looking back? Like how's your definition of leadership evolved through your career?
Well, I'll tell you what, early on in my career, the idea of leadership was really more about, the technical aspects of the job and getting the job done and meeting some, key success factors and things like that. Here I am. I hate to say this, but it's over 44 years that I've been
Wow,
doing this.
what an
And I
accomplishment.
look back now, and today, what I'm focused on and what I believe leadership responsibility is all about, it's about creating followership and, figuring out the way to get large amount of work done, either through technology or through people, but it's more strategic in nature now than ever. I think that, creating followership and creating successorship is
Hmm.
so important. It just, it totally moves the technical aspect of the job off to the side. It doesn't remove it altogether, but it becomes about the people, and it
Right.
becomes about the strategies of how you help the people get the job done. And it's it it's the most fun I've ever had. And I'll tell you, I wish it would have been this much fun earlier on, but it really is the
It
most
does get
fun.
better with age, doesn't it? Yes.
It's like a fine wine. It really
Right.
is.
So in that, I think, yeah, and that's as long as I've known you, I would say one of your greatest qualities of a leader is you've always purposefully and intentionally made more leaders. And that's kind of for me, that is definitely your legacy. But when you talk about it in a way of the followers, what do you think are some of the key traits that people need to be able to do that?
Well, I'll tell you, I think that there's a lot of key traits, but I think that uh, I think it's really just so important to really first thing you want to be is very, very, very self-aware. You got to really truly embrace and uh, connect with people. And to do that, you need to know how you're coming across. So that self-awareness piece is just so important. The second thing I think you need to be able to do is you need to be able to really communicate effectively.
Mhm.
And that's to make sure that you know how the other person is taking what you're saying, the key points of what you're saying, and being able to remember them. I have a mantra that goes that keep the message simple. It's simple messages relentlessly repeated.
I've
And I
stolen
think
that from you and use it frequently because
ah,
it's true.
well, I'm honored that you would do that. But the one thing about communication, it doesn't happen without really tremendous listening skills.
Mhm.
And the funny thing is that you I believe, and one of the things that I've done with my career is I've invested in the people so that they know that I value them. and that I respect them, that I'm compassionate, at the same time that I value them as individuals as well as, future leaders of our organization. I think that we can be uh, really, really caught up in the moment and caught up in the strategy and forget that you need to engage with the people. And that engagement is so important. I always put things in threes. So it's self awareness, it's communication. And the third thing is attitude. Uh, as we were in kindergarten, we were taught a very valuable lesson that would follow us the rest of our lives. And that was a game that we played. It was called Follow the Leader.
Hmm.
And we learned that all the way back in kindergarten. And I think back at that and I think it's about your attitude. It's because if you got a good attitude, you get good results. And if you got a bad attitude, you get bad results. But if you got a great attitude, you can get great results. And the thing is, you want to drive to great results. And it's probably the most critical piece of the three pieces: self-awareness, communication, and attitude
Hmm.
that you're going to get. Uh, Self-awareness, though, is so important,
It's huge.
because that really, really drives, follow the leader.
And I think for some young leaders, like I remember back in my 30s, it's hard because you're learning your job and becoming that great technician. You're not super knee deep into the leadership part, and you think you're presenting yourself in a way, and then you're received another, and you have the best intention in the world, but again, you don't know how people are receiving what you're saying to what you said earlier.
Yeah. Well, that's funny you say that because there's always been a test of to be anyway that I've done for myself, and that is, uh, what do people call me when they introduce me to their spouse, when they introduce me to a friend? Do they say, "This is Steve Hunckler, my friend"? Do they say, "Steve Hunckler, my boss"?
Right.
You know, or do they say, "This is somebody that I work with at," fill in the blank? And I really do believe, and I always pinch myself when someone introduces me as their boss, because it's such a negative. uh, I'm their boss. Oh,
It's a fact, but it's not warm and fuzzy.
yeah, yeah, I can take just about anything else. This is the biggest jerk I know, or something. You know, he- but this is my boss. Well, I don't boss people.
Right.
I lead them, and I
It's
think
like
that
saying Mr. Hunkler, you say, "No, that's my father." Yeah.
that's my boss. That's right. Yeah, my name is Steve.
Exactly.
Yeah,
What do you think are some in that same kind of context? What do you think? I mean, you've worked with a lot of leaders, you've produced a lot of leaders. What do you see as maybe one of the most common mistakes that leaders are making to be great?
yeah. I think probably the biggest one always comes back to that first piece of the three-legged stool that I was just talking about, and that's self-awareness.
Yeah.
And that they get so caught up with themselves that they forget how they're coming across to people, and they're making it hard for people to follow them. I think that that's probably the biggest I think one of the biggest challenges that there is, and
How does somebody work on that?
I've seen many a leader make that mistake.
Mhm.
And it's something that you have to, I don't know, you have to kind of pay attention to, and you have to be, I you know, a little bit of humble pie goes a long way, and
Absolutely.
you ask more questions than you ask. I got a card over on the wall over here next to me, and it was from the Ted Lasso show,
Ah,
and it was a statement that he made to Rupert when he was playing darts. He said, "People, always assume that they knew me and everything else, and if you would have, would have asked me a couple questions, you would have learned that yes, I know how to play darts." But the uh, the the quote that he made was one that I believe was from Walt Whitman, and that's, "Be curious, not
mm,
judgmental."
yeah, great quote.
If you ask one or two more questions, ask people what they think, listen to what they think, you're going to engage them a lot better. I do believe, and I've won over many people in my career hiring them by asking them how often their leadership asks them their opinion. And I said, I don't want your answer, but I want you to think about it.
Right.
And then I tell them, if your boss doesn't ask you what you think, that means he doesn't value your opinion, because we
Excellent.
don't
Right.
waste our time. But
Right.
if you ask people their opinion, ask them what they think, ask them if they can actively buy in and actively uh, support a decision that's being made, you got 10 times more stock and chances of getting it done. You really
Yeah.
do.
There's another great quote. It's along the lines of people don't remember what you say; they remember how you make them feel. Right. So
Absolutely.
I don't feel valued if you don't ever ask my opinion. You're just talking at me all the time.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
brought up something interesting, and I know I've had the pleasure of working with you, but that followership. I remember one time we were having a career development conversation, and you said, "Go work on influence." That's all you said. There was no guidance. There was no, because that, I think in that lesson also was part of the self awareness. You
Mhm.
can't influence others if you can't, you don't know things about yourself and how you lead.
Yeah.
Do you still think influence is in that vein, or do you separate that out different from followership?
No, I think influence is right along the same lines. Matter of fact, if you think about the two ends of the spectrum, you got it, you getting things done through influence or getting things done by affluence.
Hmm.
Do people do it because you're the chief claim officer, chief operating officer, president, senior vice president, executive vice president, or do you get it done because they believe in you?
Right.
And influence is belief, affluence is title. And if you really want to get it done, and I'm not talking about attaining the result, I'm talking about sustaining the result.
Hmm.
You really want to sustain a result, you do it by influence, not by affluence.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Does that go into your philosophy? Because you've worked at small companies and very, very large companies. You really, it isn't just about as good as you are at the individual and making people feel valued and seen. You build great cultures. How do you expand that out of a relationship with, say, a direct report to building the culture of feeling valued?
Oh, we could spend hours on that, and we could write books about it. Matter of fact, I'll plug the book that I am writing. It's called The Complete Practical Leader, and it'll be done in the next year. And
Excellent.
follow me on LinkedIn, and I'll post something when it's getting close.
We'll have to have you come back once you get the book done.
Oh, I'd love to do that. I'd love to do mention that. I'd do that for you in a heartbeat and do it for me in a heartbeat too. But culture is just so important. You can come up with the greatest strategies in the world, but if you don't have the followership, you don't have the culture and the organization, if you don't have the desire to get even better,
Hmm.
and you use the word even very strategically there, because if you ask somebody to get better, they're going to say, "What's wrong with me?"
Right.
If you ask somebody if they want to get even better or they want to be even more successful, everybody's hand goes up. Yeah, count me in.
Right.
Count me in, Steve. But it's all about the culture. And it's got to be legit.
Mhm.
It can't be something that's a flash in the pan. It's not something you do on Thursdays, but not on Mondays. No, it's
Exactly.
gotta be a part of the thread of what's in the organization, and that holds it together. It has to be everybody buying into it, having the right values, having the right vision, communicating that vision, uh, you know, and doing it in a way that gets people excited. And, you know, uh, the my biggest fear is that, if you lose a good culture, it takes forever to make it back
It
up.
does. Yeah.
It's kind of like, what happens if you train people and leave? And I think, what happens if you train them and they don't?
Yeah.
Or you don't
Exactly.
train them and they don't? Yeah. Yeah.
See, that's an interesting thing because a lot of times with guests, I'll bring up the change in the culture inherently just because of the remote working now. It's a lot different when you see the people every day. You can say hello and good morning and ask them questions, and it is more challenging managing remotely and keeping a healthy culture. How have you done that in the past 6 years since the
Well, I'll
pandemic?
tell you, the COVID has really, really challenged us. I
Mm,
remember back in, I think it was March 18th of, 5 years ago, that we sent everybody home. And we were thinking a week before that, what about making a work at home environment where people could work at home maybe 1 day a week? you
mhm,
know, and make it so that they didn't have to commute into the office, and how would we make sure that we would, be doing as good of a job, and that the customer experience would be the same, and the quality of the work wouldn't slip and everything else. And all of a sudden on one day, we're sending everybody home. Well, it
exactly.
scares you.
For
What
5 days, not just
what
1 day, 5
yeah,
days.
what we did yeah, what we did, or, what I was a part of, was we just communicated, communicated, and communicated. We engaged everybody. We made them feel like, even though that they're working here and not over in an office with a water cooler and a break room, and you know you can look over the top of the cubicle and be the gopher, and just
Right.
look over the top and say, hey, I got a question for you. That people knew how they get answers. They
Mhm.
knew that that the results were being published more real time, as opposed to, quarterly or monthly or weekly or stuff like that, but that we were letting them know that the work was being done, and then appreciating them and
Mhm.
letting them know how great of a job that they did. And all of a sudden, people went from being scared of working at home and feeling isolated to being included and being part of it and being excited about it. And
Right.
there again, if you're excited, they'll be excited. And it really is. Yeah, I happen to work with a fantastic CEO. His name is Vern Steiner.
Mhm.
And Vern I mean, he just embraced every single one of the 4,000 employees that we have. And he did such a great job. People didn't want to come back into the office. They wanted to work from home. They were able to get so much more done. And,
Mhm.
here we are 5 years later and 6 years later, and here we are, not just attaining the results we need, but sustaining them.
Correct.
And it all that has to do with culture. It has to do with, every time we have a town hall meeting and all the questions that were asked, and, the questions started out early on, when are we going to come back into the office? Now the questions that come in are, well, I hope we don't come back into the office. Are we going to come in the office? And we just kept telling our employees that no, that, that we've proven that we can do the job at a high quality and a high quantity. And there's no reason to come back into the office. Matter of fact, we started selling off and getting out of our real estate.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
so even if we had them come back, we wouldn't have
Now you
places
have
to
no home for 'em, right?
yeah. Yeah, that's
But there
that's what
there
we
are
call
the
going
flip.
all in.
Yeah, all in. Well, and I think that's what that was I was gonna make a comment about is there are leaders out there who weren't maybe as advanced in their leadership skills to engage and that's when you really have to step up, right? You have to be the leader, say don't panic, everything's fine, we're going to make the best out of this, and then as it evolves we actually become better together. And
Mhm.
instead there's a fear where they say I can't see you, I can't touch you, I don't know what to do because I don't know how to lead unless you're in front of me. And I think there's that's where we're creating that talent gap in our industry, is because we don't have enough companies that have invested in the way, not just from the people, but from the leadership style saying, "Hey, we can do this together. This isn't scary. It's actually working out better for everyone."
Yeah. The, the talent crisis has totally changed from what it was 5 years ago. You know, there
Yes.
was just a lot of uh, the knowledge base of what we do that was retiring. Now we still have that happening, but we've got a completely different talent crisis that people want to work from home and that they don't want to go into the office and they want to work absolute remotely. And there's times that you have to travel and you have to go into the office
Right.
and and people are, you know, they the younger generations really look to, you know, doing, the job remotely, you
Mhm.
know, 24/7,
It's
you
their
know?
norm now for some of
They
them.
wanna work evenings, they wanna work days, they want a flexible work schedule. You know, if they've got children to pick up, from school, they wanna be able to do that. It's,
Yeah.
different challenges, but the fact of the matter is if you keep them focused on the result and attaining and sustaining the result, do I care when they work?
Yeah.
Do I care what hours that they're doing? As long as the customer feels that they're being responded to, as long as the coworkers feel like they're all working it together, you know, there's no reason not to allow flexibility in work schedules.
Have you seen any change in because that balance is there, and which I would have loved to have had, by the way, when I was younger in my career, but I'm hearing anecdotally, I'd say at this point, that we're having also a leadership crisis because there are less people who want to go into leadership. Like I'm talking, new leaders, maybe 5 years into their career, because they like being a sole contributor, which we need both. But if there's a trend where people say, "I've got this balance and I like it, I really don't wanna take on that leadership role without really fully knowing it." Are you seeing any of that in the industry?
You know, I have not seen that. Matter of fact, it's, you know, I'm hiring an executive vice president right now that's gonna be, responsible for half of the field claim organization, and, uh, I've got plenty of candidates. I got plenty of qualified candidates, internal, and I've even got some that are external that, I'm not seeing that. I'm still seeing people want that uh satisfaction, they want the recognition, they want the promotion, they want the better compensation, you know, and they're willing to do the work to do it. Now I have seen in a few situations where people are thinking more about work life balance, and
Right.
that's what I'm seeing is becoming even more critical. And if you can crack that one, get the work life balance and the leadership opportunities out there, I'll tell you what, you'll never have a leadership,
Issue.
d
Yeah.
you know, disparity. You'll be able to get leaders whenever you want them.
I think sometimes too, at the supervisor, maybe manager, director, those early entry leadership positions, it depends on what their experience has been with their leaders. I mean, we've all had some point in our career where we've worked either for a toxic leader or in a toxic culture, and that may be part of it, right? Because we've got a change in leadership. At least for me, I mean, I'm going on 34 years. More leadership changes, it's faster than I've ever seen it. It used to be people would sit in a chair for 20 years. Now it might be 5, might be 10, but rarely is it gonna be that long term like it used to be. What kind of advice would you give maybe a young leader who's going through that struggle of either having a toxic kind of environment from a boss or a culture perspective? How do they still shine? Because you can, to what you said earlier, you can still be even better at individually if your environment's not that great.
Yeah, I think that, it's taking ownership for your own career. I really do believe that that's a part of it. So many people want their leadership to invest in them and to make them a better candidate. Uh, how do you make yourself a better candidate? What experiences do you have to get? Are you willing to take lateral moves as opposed to going up the ladder, going over so that you can go up the ladder? Uh, I encourage people to do things that maybe make them a little uncomfortable, but can satisfy their curiosity, their intellectual curiosity. Uh, uh, I think that you can get caught up or comfortable in a job, get comfortable in your career, but miss opportunities to satisfy that intellectual curiosity so that you become an even better candidate for that next opportunity. Uh, I think one of the things that every person should ask themselves is really, what is my desire? Do I want to go up the technical piece or do I want to go up the leadership piece? And then to figure out a game plan. And sometimes it's through working with your leaders. Sometimes it's working through a career coach. Sometimes it's working through a mentor, you know? Uh, uh, if you don't have a mentor, you should be asking yourself why.
Why? Yeah. I think that's kind of a I was just going to ask you the question. When those are very different things, similar outcomes, but for different like different times in your career. So I would say young leaders, mentor for sure. But when would you recommend somebody might get like a personal coach or an executive coach? You don't necessarily have to be in the C-suite to get an executive coach, but what is it that, because you've probably had one throughout your career.
Uh, I had a couple executive coaches. I've had more mentors than
Mhm.
executive coaches. I kind of like the idea of having a mentor as long as it's self-selected.
Yes.
You find somebody that you believe in, somebody that will tell you things that you value, and don't just, fill in the blank for you or answer your questions for you, but will make you think through things. Uh, I've been blessed that way. I've had some really, really, really good mentors in my career, and uh, they've taught me a lot. And and boy, I appreciate them. I
Yeah.
appreciate them more than they'll ever know. And it's funny, but if you self-select them, you got a much better chance. If somebody assigns a mentor to you, hey, your mentor today, Jeanette, is going to be Susan.
Yeah.
Well, now you're meeting with them to check a box.
Yeah.
You're not naturally drawn to them. They're not naturally drawn to you. It's not an investment. And sometimes career coaching, and I think this is a challenge of career coaching, is how do you become that person that the person seeks out,
Mhm.
not just employees, or
Right.
that the company just doesn't give to you as part of your career development. We'll give you Joe, who's a great career coach, and you do things that Joe, he tells you to read a book, he tells you to listen to a podcast like this. I mean, it's all good stuff, but how do you get the most out of it? The
Right.
most out of it is when there's a desire, when there is a draw, and when there is a belief that the person is helping you for all the right reasons.
Mhm.
That's what makes you a good career
The
coach, and that's
connection.
what
Yeah.
makes a good relationship between you and your career coach.
Without
So,
without
I guess
without a connection.
selection is the answer you were
Yeah.
looking for. It's how do
Agreed.
you select them? Yeah.
And I think that's a really important thing to share because a lot of people don't understand, especially your first couple mentors. You might go through the company or you might ask someone who you're like, oh, I think this person is, really smart or people respect him or whatever reason. But it's very hard to come across those people that you can have long-term relationships because a lot of like mentoring programs, you'll go through it maybe for a quarter or something like that. But what you're talking about is finding somebody who's willing to invest in you. It's
Yeah.
not a check the box. Like they're such a leader that they're willing to learn about you and watch you go through this journey over a period of time because it's hard to mentor someone when you do it for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
It's too short of a period, but I love this. The self-selection is probably the right answer.
Yeah.
Where do people look? I mean, most people look at in their companies. So if you were going to give some advice of, it doesn't have to be a work mentor, right? You've got all those footballs behind you, so it could be a coach or it could be a. I mean,
Yeah.
where do you recommend from where you found yours through connections, networking?
It's through connections, networking, referral. Uh, those are all the best ones that I've had. And
So you've asked people like, "Hey, I'm looking for a mentor, and I'd like to find a person." And
yeah, I'll reach out to somebody and say, "Hey, I'm looking for a mentor for somebody. I'm looking to give them 2 or 3 people that they can talk to and they can select or that they can, get introduced to and see if there's a match there or something that potentially works." Uh, and of course, you go to the people that you trust and the people
right.
that will do a good job for you. And yeah,
How do you feel networking has changed? Because I can say from maybe the first decade of my career to now, it's very different. I mean, there's still conferences and things, but that was almost part of my job was developing networks and making sure I got out and I participated in the industry and industry organizations. Do you think that's as important as it used to be with the technology piece we have now, or
yeah.
not as much as it used to be?
Well, I do think it's important today, and you've always been really good at it, Jeanette.
Thank you.
You've kept a very very strong network of really really high flyers
Yeah.
and
Good people. I like good people.
good people and good people like you too. So,
Thank
I
you.
mean, but networking, you got to put some effort into it.
It is. Mhm.
I mean, I still reach out on a quarterly basis, twice a year, maybe yearly, with people that I worked with back in the '80s and the '90s. Matter of fact, I just got off the phone yesterday with somebody that was my first supervisor when I was a
Wow.
trainee adjuster. And, uh, funny story, he retired and he lost his cell phone to the company took it back from him. I didn't know how to get in touch with him. And I ended up going to LinkedIn and sending him a message saying, "I hope you retired and that you didn't die."
Yeah. Now that's a new LinkedIn direct message that you got.
Yeah, little did you know that LinkedIn has so many valuable, opportunities that you can use, but yeah, and he gave me a call back and he said, "Steve, I apologize." He says, "I decided to retire and it was like 2 months later and I was retired and they took my phone back." And I was like, "But
Wow.
that's my number. I brought it here."
Yeah.
And he was like, "And I forgot to give you a phone call." So we exchanged numbers and everything else. And Ray's an awesome guy. I mean, he and I we go all the way back to 1982. I mean,
That's
and
amazing.
but we've kept in touch. He's reached out to me. I've reached out to him. I think, in some respects, it's being mutual mentors. And
Yeah.
I haven't really thought about that too much, but I reach out to him when I got something that, I think he could help me with, and he does the same thing coming back. So it's mutual.
Those are really special relationships because we get busy, right? And sometimes a year or two goes by and you don't see somebody or you don't, and then you connect and it's like you talked to them yesterday, but they know you well enough that if you happen to have something that you want to chat about, you've got those people. It's more of a sounding board, but that is worth their weight in gold when you find people like that.
Yeah.
How do you think it's changed for or I won't say changing because I think the industry is changing faster than it ever has before. But for people who are looking to lead, I'll say the next gen, right? Because it's going to be much more heavily based in technology. And I was chatting with somebody the other day and they said, nobody has to worry, particularly in the leadership realm, because we need leaders who know how to manage people who run the AI. There's always going to be a personal element, even if some of the jobs are moved out or something. You're always going to have somebody to lead a team to exactly what you were saying before to get the results. and move in the organizational way that sustains those results. So do you think it's kind of the basics that it's not going to change because it's still people, or do you think there's some new skills that people are going to have, or you're seeing that something emerge today?
Well, I think, you talk about AI and, figure out what you hate doing the most and figure out how to automate it,
Hmm.
and then use what your gray matter can help you with that AI can't, or maybe it's just not developed yet, or it hasn't learned enough yet. But the fact of the matter is that this is still a people business, and
Agreed.
most businesses are. But how do you leverage AI to really, really allow you to use your brain, to
Hmm.
use your personality to get things done, to get stuff done in the most efficient way? And I think that, boy, there's so much more to come. There's so
Yeah.
much more to come.
Yeah.
And
And we don't even know what it looks like yet.
it's an exciting time to be doing what we do.
Hmm.
And it's even more exciting to think about, what the potential is around the corner, and how do you manage change so that you get the most out of it. Uh, I, it's an
I've been
exciting
seeing,
time.
regardless of what it is. I mean, we used to have master technicians, and the only way you knew was from handling the claims or getting your CP is like reading. There was no internet you could go and Google things or chat GPT. And even if the job itself, how we do it changes, the empathy is never going to go away, because we have to have empathy with our customers. And I think some of the most successful leaders I've seen, it's because they have empathy with their people. So I may not understand what you do technically, that's why I have you, but I know how to make you feel valued and feel heard, and help you with the balance in work life that you need, whatever it might be. But if there is less opportunity to be together, I think that empathy gets harder or becomes a bigger challenge for leaders. Would you agree?
Yeah, I do agree with you on that. I think that, you know, AI is not going to take the place of empathy. It's not
No.
going to take the place of integrity. It's not going to take the place of developing relationships.
Hmm.
That's so important to leaders. Those are
Yes.
three pieces that every leader has to keep in mind, keep first and foremost, right in front of them. Uh, yeah, I do believe that.
Because I don't even think that the buying online and the touchless kind of claim, people still need to talk to other people in times of crisis. Even if the
Yeah,
process simplifies, you just say, I just want to know someone can hear me and see me in a time of need. And if we're not having leaders that can continue to build that, then that's a whole separate of issue that we'll have to deal with.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
you mentioned a quote. You shared one with me years ago, and I think about it frequently when I'm feeling challenged. And it was, "But for me, there I go." Is that the right one?
Could
There,
be.
there, but for me, I go. You've had so many, but do you have any others than the one from Ted Lasso?
Oh, you know which one I love this one. And that's, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got.
That's a good
And
one.
and that just rolls off my tongue.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's in life that way. It's in your relationships with your loved ones. It's with the people that you work with. If you
Hmm.
always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got.
Right.
And if that's worked in the past, fantastic.
Yeah.
You know what? Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Uh, if it's left you half empty, well, it's time to shake it up a little bit,
Right.
you know?
That's when you talk about getting stuck in your comfort zone, right? You get out
Yeah.
of it, get out of it once in a while and see what else is out there.
Yeah, there's a piece out there right now that I find very interesting, and I've adopted it, and that is, you we all want to succeed, but sometimes if it's not the right direction and it's not the right strategy, I want to fail fast.
Exactly. Yes.
And a lot of people are scared to fail fast. And that's one of the things that I encourage people. Take the risk. Get a little bit outside of your comfort zone. If it doesn't work, let's fail fast and let's learn from it,
Hmm.
because it's those failures that are gonna reap greatest success.
I have learned some of my best lessons through failure
Yeah.
that have carried me through.
Yeah.
I agree. I
Yeah, you can
remembered
learn
what it
how to
was.
do things, and you can learn how not to do things.
Yeah, just like in leadership, you can take qualities. People are like, "Oh, my boss is it." I'm like, but now you're learning the qualities you don't want to have as a leader. There's always a lesson in there if you look for it.
Yeah.
The quote I was going to share is, "There, but for me, go I." That's the
Mhm.
one. There, but and I forgot what the series that it came out of, but I think it goes to your self awareness.
Yeah.
And if in most of the time, the thing that's standing in our way is ourselves.
Most
And if we take time to look inside, pretty much we can solve everything that goes past that.
yeah.
Do you have you've read a lot of books also, but do you have any favorite books, leadership? There's thousands of them, and people are always asking, "What book should I read?" I'm like, what are you trying to learn?"
Well, I gotta plug my book that's coming up because
There
I
we
think
go.
it's the best one out there. The Complete Practical Leader. Pay attention to it. It's gonna be coming
Excellent.
out. But, you know, there's Druckers and there's Peters and some of the gurus of leadership.
Right.
They talk about theory. My book's
Yes.
gonna talk about practical things. It's gonna talk about practical applications of what true leaders do. And they're gonna be short vignettes, short little units that will teach just the simple but unexpected and unintended consequences that come from actions and inactions.
Hmm.
And I'll plug that again. But
Plugging it. We need the practical, right?
yeah,
That's what we really need because people are learning faster. So it's nice to read a book,
yeah,
but it's much easier if someone gives you an example that you can work from and then use it the next day.
yeah. There's a book up on the top there. It's called Liquid Leadership. I really liked that one. I really liked Beyond Survival by Captain Coffee. It, I mean, it just shows that the human spirit can't be broke, and
Mm.
as much of a challenge as you think you have, there's other challenges that are a heck of a lot bigger. And so those are just a couple ones there that I just looked up there to see what I had
Yeah,
up
which
there.
one you had up there?
It's so funny. You read a book, you put it on the shelf, and you go,
I have
"Why
so
did I
many of
put
them
that
on
on the
mine.
shelf? I should be reading it again."
Again, exactly. That's why I keep my
And there
bookshelf
again,
next
we
to
go
my
back to
desk.
that intellectual curiosity, feed it, give it more, give it more. The more you give it, the more you're going to want it.
And I think sometimes when you see things like, oh, well, Warren Buffett or Steve Jobs, they wake up at 5 and they read every morning, and people can't associate to that level of leadership. But I can say throughout my career, that is one of the common threads of great leaders is they continually learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you
And bring
can't,
people along.
100%,
Yeah,
100%.
definitely.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for joining. I am absolutely going to have you back when that book comes out. I'm sure it'll be on Amazon or as some digital way that people can get a hold of it. And when did you say it's coming out?
I have the first draft of the outline completely done, and now it's time to start filling in all the chapters. I actually will be retiring in July of this year, and then it's going to become a much higher priority to finish it off. So
Well,
probably in a year from now, it'll be coming out. So yeah.
congratulations on the retirement and congratulations on the book.
Stephen Hunckler at LinkedIn.
There we
Make
go.
sure to
That's all
follow
people
me
need to
there.
know. They can follow it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
All right, Steve, take care. Great talking to you.
Thank you very much for having me today, and I look forward to our continued friendship.
Wonderful. Had a blast. Thanks. Thanks for listening to The Table. If you like this episode, please follow us and subscribe so that others can find us. Until next time, Go out and find a seat at your table.